I found out the truth on a quiet Sunday morning standing outside my father's study with a mug of coffee that suddenly felt too heavy to hold. He had secretly given Eleanor $500,000 for law school, an entire future wrapped in a number I couldn't even imagine, and then dismissed mine with 7 cutting words, "You're only good enough for a diner job." I thought the worst part was hearing it. I was wrong, because when I confronted them, my sister smirked. And 5 years later, the people who belittled me were the ones crying. My name is Victoria, and for most of my life, I was the quiet one in a family that praised noise. Eleanor's achievements, Eleanor's talent, Eleanor's future. If you walked into our house in the city, you'd see it in every frame lining the hallway. Her debate trophies, her honor roll certificates, her acceptance letter pinned behind glass. Mine were there too, just lower on the wall, slightly tilted, as if even the nails understood the hierarchy. I wasn't jealous. At least that's what I told myself while tying my apron before each shift at the little diner on Maple Street. I liked earning my own way. I liked the independence. But independence feels different when everyone around you treats your life like a consolation prize. Dad had always talked about Eleanor's potential with a pride so bright it cast shadows. Mom followed his lead, softer in tone, but not in action. When Eleanor got a B+, she received a pep talk about greatness. When I earned straight A's while juggling 2 part-time jobs, the response was a lukewarm smile and a reminder to stay practical. Practical like it was a cage I was supposed to decorate and live in quietly. Still, there were moments when I convinced myself it wasn't favoritism. Family dinners where Mom asked about my day, even if she forgot the details moments later. Holidays where Dad hugged me a second longer than usual. Eleanor's occasional attempts to include me in her world of polished nails and perfect photos. Those crumbs of affection kept me hoping things might shift someday. The only person who truly saw me, though, was Aunt May. Her home smelled of lavender and old books with sunlight that always seemed kinder coming through her windows. She watched me the way no one else did, listening instead of comparing, asking instead of assuming. Whenever the weight of being the overlooked daughter pressed too hard on my ribs, I ended up on her couch with a warm cup of tea and her gentle reminder that some roots grow strong underground. But even May didn't know how suffocating the house felt the morning before everything changed. Dad had been in his study for hours, the door cracked open just enough for his voice to drift out. Mom stood nearby, fiddling with a stack of bills and nodding along. I wasn't trying to listen as I walked past. It just happened. A sentence, then another, and suddenly the floor tilted beneath me. For 22 years, I'd swallowed doubt like medicine, bitter, necessary numbing. But that morning, hearing those words, the doubt dissolved. The truth stood naked and sharp. They didn't believe in me. They never had. And the worst part wasn't realizing it. It was realizing how naturally they said it. I didn't mean to stop outside the study again, but something in my father's tone clipped. Certain pulled me back like a hook in my spine. Mom murmured something I couldn't hear, and then Dad answered clearly this time. "We can't fund both. Eleanor's law program has to take priority. Victoria, she'll be fine at the diner. It suits her." The words didn't just land. They rearranged everything I thought I knew. I felt my fingers curl against the doorframe, the wood digging into my palms. $500,000. He said it casually, like it was obvious where that kind of money should go. Like it was absurd to imagine a future where I deserved even a fraction of it. Mom's reply floated out small and wavering. "But we promised both girls we'd help. We have to be realistic," Dad said. "Eleanor has potential. Victoria just needs to be practical." Practical. That word tasted different now, like rust and old resentment. I stepped back, trying to breathe through the pounding in my ears. Every memory I'd excused, every slight I'd brushed aside lined up with brutal clarity. The missed recitals, the forgotten birthdays, the way they introduced me to friends our hard-working one as though effort was the only thing I could offer, never talent or ambition. I couldn't stay in that house another second. I grabbed my keys and jacket and headed for the door, but halfway down the stairs, Eleanor appeared all polished perfection in a cream sweater and flawless makeup. "Hey," she said, "Mom's making dinner. Family night, remember family night?" The joke practically told itself. Not feeling well, I managed moving past her. "Wait," she followed, eyes narrowing. "Are you okay? You look upset." I'm great, I said. Perfect, actually. Just like you. She flinched, confusion clouding her features. What's that supposed to mean? But I didn't answer. I pushed through the front door and into the cool air, my chest tight enough to crack. Dad's voice boomed behind me. Victoria, get back here right now. I turned, seeing all three of them framed in the doorway like a portrait I no longer belonged in. Something inside me snapped its final thread. Why? My voice shook, but it didn't falter. So you can tell me again that I'm not worth investing in, that Eleanor deserves everything and I deserve nothing. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Sweetheart, you misunderstood? No, I said. For once, I understood perfectly. Eleanor stepped forward, hands half raised like she might soothe me. Vic, come on, just be practical. That smirk, so small, so confident, was gasoline on a fire already burning too hot. Practical, I repeated. Right. Dad's face hardened. You're being childish. I laughed, sharp enough to cut. Childish. For wanting the same chances you handed her. Silence. Heavy. Final. Maybe you should leave, Dad said. Oh, I will, I said. I'm done playing the role you wrote for me. As I drove away, one thought settled into place with terrifying clarity. If they wouldn't give me a future, I'd build one they could never touch. I ended up at Aunt May's house that night, my hands still trembling as I sat at her kitchen table. The place always smelled like lavender and warm sugar, like safety. May didn't ask anything at first. She just poured chamomile tea into my favorite mug, the one with chipped blue paint along the rim. Your father called, she finally said, settling into the chair across from me. He thinks you're being unreasonable. I let out a hollow laugh. Did he mention the part where I'm apparently destined for diner shifts, while Eleanor gets $500,000 and a law career? May's eyes tightened. No, he left that out. A knock at the door made my heart jump. May placed a calming hand on my shoulder before going to answer it. Mom's voice drifted inside, pleading shaky. Please, May, we need to talk to her. I stared at my tea, the ripples trembling in time with my pulse. When Mom stepped into the kitchen, she looked smaller than I'd ever seen her. Victoria, she whispered, your father didn't mean... He meant every word. I stood up. He always has. Mom twisted her wedding ring. If we could just sit down as a family... We're not a family, I said. We're Eleanor's support system. I'm the backup plan. May returned, then her expression turning into something steely. Linda, sit down. Mom obeyed, startled by the firmness in May's tone. May opened a drawer and pulled out a thick envelope. She handed it to me. I was waiting for the right moment. I suppose that moment is now. Inside was a bank statement, an account in my name with a balance that made the room tilt. Tens of thousands saved over years. I started this fund when you were born, May said softly. I knew how your parents operated. I wanted you to have options. Mom's face went pale. May, you had no right. I had every right, May snapped. I watched the way you poured everything into Eleanor, while Victoria fought for scraps of attention. I blinked back tears. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I hoped they would do the right thing without my interference, she said. Clearly that was foolish. The weight of the envelope settled into my hands, heavy with possibility. They'll try to make me share it with Eleanor, I whispered. They can try, May said. But the account is in your name. Completely. For the first time since leaving home, something like hope flickered inside me. But it came tangled with anger. Anger at what could have been, at the years I'd spent believing I wasn't enough. What do I do now? I asked. Whatever you want, May said. But if I may offer advice, start with that business degree you've always dreamed about. Build something that belongs to you. And so I did. 3 months into my first semester, I was juggling classes, part-time shifts, and an aching determination to rewrite my life. That's when May called her voice tight. Victoria, something's happened. Eleanor's boyfriend, Lucas, he's been arrested, and they're investigating her involvement. The past was collapsing. The future was shifting, and I wasn't the one falling apart this time. When May told me about Lucas's arrest, I froze in the middle of the student center, my coffee cooling between my palms. The campus buzzed around me, laughter, footsteps, the rustle of notebooks, but it all faded under the weight of her words. Investigators think Eleanor might have known, May added quietly. I sank onto a bench. Known what? That he was falsifying investment records. A full investigation is underway. For a long moment, all I felt was disbelief. That was supposed to be my role, the one who made the wrong choices, the one who lacked potential, the one who needed to stay practical. Not Eleanor. Never Eleanor. But reality didn't bend to family stories, and within hours, it got worse. Eleanor called me 3 times before I picked up. When I finally answered, her voice cracked so sharply it barely sounded like hers. "Vic, I need your help." I expected satisfaction, vindication, something triumphant. Instead, my stomach twisted. "What happened, Eleanor?" She inhaled shakily. "They think I was involved in Lucas's scheme. I wasn't. I swear I wasn't. But I found things, discrepancies months ago, and I believed him when he told me it was normal." "Eleanor," I said slowly, "they're offering you a deal, aren't they?" A beat of silence. "Then immunity, if I testify before him." Her voice wavered. "Mom and Dad want me to stay quiet. They keep saying loyalty matters, that Lucas will fix it." "Lucas is in handcuffs," I said. "He's not fixing anything." She let out a sob. "Please, I don't know what to do. I need you." I pressed my fingers to my forehead. 5 years earlier, she'd smirked at me and told me to be practical. Now she sounded like someone whose world had splintered. "When do you meet with the prosecutor?" I asked. "Tomorrow morning. Will you come?" I hesitated. Not because I didn't know my answer, but because I understood the weight of it. "Yes," I said. "I'll be there." The next day, I watched Eleanor walk into the prosecutor's office with shaking hands. I stayed behind in the lobby, heart pounding, knowing she was crossing a line she could never uncross. When she emerged, her face looked washed out but steadier. "It's done," she whispered. "I told them everything." I nodded. "Good, but that wasn't the end." A week later, Dad called. "We're going to need your help with Eleanor's legal fees," he said as casually as if he were asking for sugar. I nearly laughed. "Nearly? You're joking. We're her parents," he said firmly. "We have to protect her future." "Right. The future you already poured $500,000 into." Silence. Cold, brittle silence. "You owe this family some loyalty, Victoria." "No," I said. "I owe you nothing." I hung up. But Dad wasn't finished. He showed up at my campus 2 days later, Mom trailing behind him like a fading shadow. Eleanor wasn't with them. "We need to talk," Dad said. "I don't have time." "Make time." I folded my arms. "What do you want?" He straightened his jacket. "Your inheritance. We need your portion of the family trust transferred to help Eleanor stabilize her situation." I stared at him stunned. "My portion," I repeated. "The portion you made sure I'd never benefit from. The portion that was never meant for me in the first place." Mom stepped forward. "Victoria, sweetheart, please. She's your sister." "So am I," I said. Except when it mattered. Dad's jaw clenched. "You're being emotional. You don't understand how serious this is." "No," I replied. "You don't understand how serious I am." I turned to leave, but a familiar voice called out behind me, "Vic, Eleanor." She approached slowly, her eyes rimmed with exhaustion. "I didn't ask them to do this," she said. "I told them not to. They won't listen." I shook my head. "It's not your job to stop them." She swallowed hard. "I know I don't deserve your help. I know what I said that night. But you were right about everything." Dad bristled. "Eleanor." "No," she said sharply. "Stop. Stop pretending this is about my future. This is about your reputation, your fear." I stared at her, really stared, and for the first time in years, I saw a crack in her golden shell. Vulnerability, regret. She looked at me. "If you're going to help me, let it be because you want to, not because they demand it." I didn't answer her then, but I did make a decision that started with a call to May, and ended with the 3 of us, me, Eleanor, and Grant, sitting in a conference room at a neutral office downtown, the air thick with anticipation. On the table sat May's final gift, a USB drive, a folder of printed summaries, and a lifetime of evidence. Dad and Mom walked in with their lawyer, their expressions confident. That confidence evaporated the moment Grant dimmed the lights and projected the first document. It was a summary of payments, rounded amounts that traced from Dad's company to shell accounts. Some linked to Lucas, some linked to Eleanor, some uncomfortably linked to me. Dad shot to his feet. "This is absurd." "No," I said calmly. "This is what you used us for." Grant flipped to the next image audio recordings. Dad's voice discussing financial cover-ups. Mom's voice agreeing to redirect attention. Eleanor's name mentioned as a shield. Mine as a fallback. Mom burst into tears. Dad's face drained of color. "Our proposal is simple," I said. "You step down from the company quietly. You transfer operational control to Eleanor and me. You retire. No public exposure, no legal escalation." Dad's voice cracked. "You can't do this. You're our daughters. For years I said you treated us like assets. Today we decide our own value." The lawyer whispered frantically to them. Mom sobbed into her hands. Dad looked at Eleanor. "Please, you're the responsible one. You wouldn't betray us like this." Eleanor's voice trembled, but she stood tall. "You betrayed us first." He broke then, not with rage, but with something softer, something I'd never seen from him. Fear. For the first time in my life, my father looked small. By the time the papers were signed, Mom was openly crying. Eleanor wiped her own eyes. I felt strangely steady, as if my spine had finally found the shape it was meant to hold. 5 years earlier, they told me I wasn't good enough. Now they were crying while handing me everything they never intended me to have. Justice didn't feel loud. It felt quiet, clean, like breathing after years underwater. When the dust finally settled, the transition happened quietly. Dad and Mom moved to another city, their names removed from every document and meeting agenda. No headlines, no scandal, just absence, clean and complete, the exact mercy they were never capable of giving me. Eleanor and I took over the company with Grant's guidance signing our names side by side on the first set of operational directives. It felt surreal. Not triumphant or vengeful, just right, like stepping into a room that had been waiting for us all along. The diner where I once wiped down tables after midnight became May's, owned by the staff who had carried it for decades. I attended the reopening, quietly standing in the back as the new sign was revealed. It glowed warm against the evening sky, the way May's voice once warmed the rooms of her home. Eleanor rebuilt slowly and honestly, and for the first time, our conversations weren't shaped by comparison. Just sisters starting over. As for me, I finally stopped trying to prove anything. I simply lived the life I'd built, one choice, one boundary, one quiet victory at a time. In the end, justice didn't roar, it whispered steady and sure through every boundary I learned to draw and every step I chose for myself. If you've ever fought to be seen, to be valued, to break free from the story someone else wrote for you, you're not alone. Share your experience in the comments and subscribe for more stories like this. Your voice matters here, and your chapter isn't finished.